episode 2 of the Talkin Chop podcast, brought to you by the folks over at Chief of Staff Kansas City, your local trusted talent scouts making connections that matter. I'm Emerson Hodis. This is Lucas Berry. We're happy to be back for our second season. The Chiefs are off to a hot start with a statement win on Sunday over the Browns, 33-29, to kick off the 2021 season. We are also off to a hot start here at Talkin Chop, booking one of our favorite people in Kansas City, Mr. Joel Goldberg, host of the Royals live show for the Royals. They're in-game reporter, as well as a published author, podcast host, and owner of Goldberg Media. Joel, thanks for making some time to join us today. How's everything going?
Everything's good, Emerson, Lucas. Good to see you guys. Nice to come in after a Chiefs win. And the Royals won the same day, too, which, you know, on a Chiefs opener or any Chiefs game, we're not going to quite get the same viewing audience because, you know, there are only 16 football games a year, but it's always nice when everybody wins on the same day, too.
True that.
Yep, absolutely.
True that. Well, the Chiefs made it an interesting game on Sunday, but, man, that was fun. I was actually out at the game at Arrowhead. I mean, it's so great to be back and see it red at a full capacity. So we had a ton of fun out there. But we'll get into our takes from the game as well as our preview for our upcoming Week 2 matchup against the Ravens here soon. But first, we're bringing you our position of the week, brought to you by the folks, again, over at Chief of Staff Kansas City, your local trusted talent scouts making connections that matter. We're a recruiting firm based in Brookside, and we'll find you the best accounting and finance, admin, marketing, HR, operations, and sales talent that Kansas City has to offer.
That's right.
Lucas, take it away, man. What's our position of the week?
Yeah, first episode, we're going to do positions of the week. This job market this year has been absolutely ludicrous. It's still hot. It still will be hot for the rest of this year and into next year. So we're going to do a general approach. Our sales team needs insurance producers left and right. If you have your own book of business, if you don't, you're just wanting to get into it, you name it, they would love to have a conversation with you. Our administrative division would love customer service reps and data entry reps. And then on the accounting and finance team, we need people from AP clerks and AR clerks all the way up to your CFO level positions, but a high focus on senior accountant level, 3 to 4 years of experience would be perfect.
All right.
So, give us a ring.
Yeah, job market's crazy. But again, thanks to the folks over at Chief of Staff KC for the sponsorship this year yet again. So let's jump into things. Lucas, take it away, man.
All right, so as you guys know, we're going to talk shop first with Joel. I'm sure all of you guys recognize this face. You recognize who he is. But Joel, we still want you to give us a quick background into what you've been doing specifically with the Royals, your speaking and writing career, so on.
Yeah, it continues to evolve. I guess the one consistent 6 months of the year when there's not a full-blown pandemic is baseball season. So wrapping up 14th season with Royals baseball. Been in the business for 26, I think coming up on 27 years in October. So that means that I was on TV when you guys were, you know, being born or something along those lines. That's just the way it is. But along the way, started a speaking business, a podcast. Book came out. So the book is Small Ball, Big Results. The podcast is Rounding the Bases. And the speaking, and I have people all the time say, well, what type of company, what field do you specialize in? And it's like, well, I mean, I've spoken to bankers and educators and insurance people and lawyers and doctors and you name it. And it's like, well, really anybody that likes to build culture and teams, which is pretty much every profession. And in some ways, really not all that different than what you guys do. I mean, there are some times where I say to a group of, say, bankers, look, you don't want me handling any of your finances ever. But what I could do is I could go on any call with you and sit with you with any client because it's all about people and relationships. I think my business is a lot similar to your business in terms of chief of staff because, I'm in the baseball business. Hey, what's it like to talk to Salvador Perez or what's it like? They're people. And at the end of the day, it's all about relationships. I get better stories, better scoops, better interviews when I build those relationships and guys are willing to trust me. So that's a very common theme in, I think, just about any profession.
Of course.
Sure. No, great answer.
So this year, we're going to stick to kind of like a recruiting and culture theme. Obviously, since you're not out there doing a lot of hiring on your own with your own business, since it's kind of a sole proprietorship, but you hammer home culture all the time with your speeches, with your book, obviously, Small Ball, Big Results. Can you tell us a little bit more about, I guess, some of the common characteristics of some of the best cultures out there that you've seen or, you know, kind of recognized or some that you recommend?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, and I know I said this already, that it always comes down to people. And by that, I think that's with everything. So how do you treat your people? How much do you pay attention to detail? And to use a sports analogy, because that tends to come into play with just about everything that I do. You can be the fill in the blank, the New York Yankees or the Dallas Cowboys or whatever it is, and have all of that recognition that they get. And I'm not saying that those franchises don't take care of their people or pay attention to it, but it's not just enough to go out and find the best talent. You all know that too in your world. What's the right fit? So you could go find anyone that is looking for, a CFO, the best CFO out there, but do they fit? Does their personality mesh? Do they fit the culture of that organization? So that's something to me that very much is applied, I know, to the Royals and where I learned that from. And while they've had their ups and downs, and that's probably a little bit more, I think, related to the economics of baseball and being in a small market, when you look at the type of people that they have brought in, they're guys that you know you can count on, and they're guys that fit the culture of this organization and this city. So fans fall in love with, say, a Nicky Lopez because of not just the numbers that he puts up. And by the way, in the world of sports, you got to put up numbers for them truly to stay in love with you. But it's also how you play the game and how you treat people. And so in the case of a Nicky Lopez, he signs more autographs than anyone every day. People always love to root for the underdog or the little guy. He hustles more than anybody. He does everything well. But back to how that relates to sort of the recruiting end of things and the relationship and everything, the small ball end of things is how much as an organization are you valuing those little things, or are you just looking at the bottom line?
Right.
And we're all ultimately measured on the bottom line. We're measured in wins and losses. We're measured on our sales numbers. We're measured on those quarterly reports. And that's fine. That's ultimately what we're judged by. But what are all the foundational elements of an organization or of a person that helps you get to that point? And that to me is huge.
No, that's great. This is kind of a testament to you. Our next set of quick hitter questions, right?
Yeah, we kind of stole it from you.
Didn't he create this a little bit? But
him and Havens,
it's baseball themed. But we're gonna do a first down, a sack,
all right,
and then a Hail Mary, right? Yeah. So first down, we'll let you start. It's gonna be a recent bit of success that you've had lately that will ultimately lead to more success.
I think for me, and when I started my business 4 years ago, it was just me, and then I added in a woman to handle my digital marketing, Danielle Welsh, and that was a nice step for me because I didn't know, I've got a big social media following, but I didn't really know what to do with that and the algorithms and all that. And then along the way, I hired an editor who I'd worked with forever in television, and I think though, understanding that those pieces, I couldn't do everything by myself, and you hear a lot of people as they're scaling a company come to the realization that you have to be able to delegate, you have to be able to let go. And I'm probably like a lot of other, entrepreneurs or founders that just only know one way, and that's just outwork everyone. And then you come to a point where it's like, you know what, I can't do all this myself, and guess what? Somebody else can do a lot of these elements better than me so I can focus on what I need to do. So to me, the first down of late would be, one, hiring a speaking manager to help me run that business who specializes in understanding those clients and being able to find that right fit for me and allow me to get out of the business end of that and focus more on my content and building the relationship. So that's one piece. And then I just hired an executive assistant, and to have done that in the last couple of weeks, and actually to be able to sit back and not have to look over someone's shoulder and not have to sit there and say, wait a minute, and just trust that I hired the right person, which I know that I did, to get out there and be able to run my everyday operations is huge. That's not anything I ever expected to do. I wouldn't call that a Hail Mary. I think it could be a touchdown, a recurring touchdown if we're going, with the themes here. But it's very much small ball element. Again, those are just those little pieces that I think will hopefully make me better.
Yeah. Well, apologies for saying that you didn't hire anyone. I'm sorry, I didn't realize how robust it is.
Well,
awesome.
I mean, this is in my little world too.
Yeah.
Like, we're not talking about. I don't need to go to chief of staff and find a CFO or a CEO, you know what I mean? Like, but they're little pieces in my small world, but they're important ones too.
Yeah,
100%. Well, what about a sack? So that sounds like a great first down, but what's a recent setback, you've had to overcome and learn from?
There have been a lot of sacks, and I think that, going not too far back, I would just go to 2020 and what happened with the pandemic. And this is a lesson now that I try to teach audiences when I speak to them too, is that people don't know this, and I don't say it for anyone to feel sorry for me, but because a lot of people were out of work. But as a baseball broadcaster, I get paid by the game, and that's something that I chose to do when I came over here to Kansas City in 2008, and it worked really well until 2020 when there were no games.
Right.
And I got a great piece of advice along the way. And oh, by the way, I have the speaking business, and nobody was hiring speakers at that point.
Yeah.
And so actually 2 pieces of advice that I got to respond to that sack and get back up and keep going was, one, when times are tough and it feels like you need to reach out for help, oh my God, who can help me here? I'm really struggling. It's counterintuitive, but if you could reach out and help other people instead of asking for it, it's going to come back around. I don't know if it's a karma thing.
leadership.
It's just taking care of, it's just taking care of people, and people want to take care of you back. And if they don't, that's okay. It still feels good.
Sure.
So it was just getting out there and trying to help people, expanding my podcast, trying to promote other businesses, trying to help other people out and bring them together. And so that really worked out well. And then the other sack was, from a speaking standpoint, nobody was hiring anyone like me or any speaker to go on stage because we couldn't be in person, and embracing the whole virtual thing. And we've heard so many people in every walk of life saying, oh, I hate the Zoom stuff. I can't, in your guys' business, you do so much face-to-face. Well, what if you can't do that face-to-face?
Yep.
Do you wait until it's over, or do you push forward? And that to me is what happened.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I'd love to hear that. I mean, honestly, like I noticed that shift, and you became like one of the faces of the pandemic last year. You were absolutely crushing it. So props to you there.
Appreciate that.
I think you already kind of mentioned like a touchdown or a Hail Mary, so we'll kind of jump forward into the Talkin Chop segment since we're only doing 15 minutes this year. But Joel, in a testament to Andy Reid, every week we always give our guests the first take, kind of recapping the game before. So with that, time's yours.
Well, I think, if they lose that game, and it certainly felt like for a while they were going to, that we're sitting here today, and as we're recording this, it is the day after that game, wondering how you lose a season opener at home.
Oh, yeah.
And it doesn't matter if if they've been playing the defending champion Buccaneers, or someone good like the Browns, or someone that isn't all that good at competition, to go 0-1. I mean, how do the Green Bay Packers feel today? How do they feel with the whole Aaron Rodgers controversy? So, it's just one game. No one is going to say a team's going to go 17-0 or 0-17, or they shouldn't be saying you're going to make the playoffs or not make the playoffs based on one game. But if they lose that game, we're talking about that game because of one reason and one reason only, and that's the defense. So to me, we're talking about a win because of the defense. And, I found myself, as I was leaving Kauffman Stadium, because we're broadcasting road games from home, and as I was walking out to the parking lot, and I could hear the PA system announcing it's third quarter, Mahomes touchdown to Travis Kelce. And I thought, okay, great. But when's the defense going to give the offense the opportunity to win this thing? And they did. It felt like a switch was flipped there.
Yes.
It's not that simple, but something changed. Whatever that was, they need to bottle that up. My only concern is that defense was quite a bit exposed.
Oh, yeah.
Now, you get Tyrann Mathieu back. There'll be some better pieces in place. But if you're another team watching, you're saying, look at what Cleveland was able to do.
Yeah.
How can we do that to them and better exploit it? So I think they do have some work to be done. I also, final thought, like the fact that it wasn't that easy.
Yep.
Yes.
Because they've now been battle-tested from week one. We know this team is good enough to run the table and to beat anyone. I don't think they will run the table. But I think it's not a bad thing to be challenged with a good opponent that early.
Yeah, I love that take. You talked about the flip, or the switch needed to be flipped, right? The catalyst that was Mahomes' touchdown to Tyreek.
Yep.
We're such a momentum-based team. We have the crowd behind us at Arrowhead. We needed to get them back in it. Ever since that moment, we immediately went on 13 unanswered point streak. You had the touchdown to Tyreek, then the next 3 and out immediately with the botch punt. So we got that quickly. And then another shot to Travis, who had a hell of a game. So I was excited to see that. It was a little nerve-wracking that it took so long to happen, as you mentioned. But overall, great game. Last little piece is everybody hates on Dirty Dan, but death taxes and Dirty Dan making a clutch play. If he wouldn't have thrown his hands out and dove for that tackle onto Baker, wouldn't have pushed it up to Hodges there, and it was just a great interception to cap the game off.
I agree. And again, my only take of the game is, man, it was good to be back at Arrowhead.
Yes.
And just seeing that. I mean, it is such a special thing that I think we only really get in this city. I had 4 Browns fans in front of me the entire time that were just like just applauding us for how well they were treated the entire time, how like embraced that they felt, even though we were talking a lot of smack through the game, don't get me wrong. They had a good time, and it was just fun to be back with that whole crowd. But for week 2, we're headed out to Baltimore. Obviously, we're recording this on Monday, so we don't really know how they've done. They got the Raiders game tonight. But Joel, what are your thoughts on that game moving forward?
Man, I got Lamar as my starting quarterback on one of my 2 teams, so I almost don't want to watch next week because I'll be, conflicted, or maybe Mahomes can just outgun him for the week.
Yeah.
And
I thought he was a running back, right? So that's what we've heard.
Yeah, sure. What is that? Sometimes, right? That should be a lot of fun. I mean, you want to talk about a huge challenge again for the defense, and you're right. We'll see what they do on Monday night, but another tough challenge to go on the road and to be able to play against Baltimore. I think it'll be again.
Sunday night football too.
Yeah, and I don't think it won't determine the season. But it'll give you a bit of an idea.
Oh yeah.
Early on, just like the Browns did. I love the fact that they've got a tough schedule early on here because I think it can be telling. It'll give them what they need to work on, and they should be a confident team going in there.
Lucas, what do you think, man?
Yeah, the running back situation on Baltimore's side will be interesting to watch. They've lost 3 guys to ACL tears. They lost Marcus Peters to ACL. They're injury prone right now, but I think either way you can't look past them. They've given us room for our money every single time. I think of that Tyreek play. Still, was it 4th down when we converted to help push that victory?
That was a great one.
In the past. So it'll be a great matchup. Chiefs still are going to take it.
Cool. Yeah, let's get some quick score predictions from the boys. Joel, you want to kick us off?
Let's go. It's just a total crapshoot. And the only other thing I was going to say, too, before my score, because we'll deal with this for a lot of weeks now, is we don't know between now and Sunday who ends up on a COVID list. I mean,
that's a good point.
It's affecting every sport right now. And the progress to that is that games aren't being canceled. I mean, even in my sport in baseball, the Red Sox have lost double-digit players over the last couple of weeks, and they didn't shut down.
Right.
So the contact tracing is better. But all it takes is one guy, and if that comes up, in a test or symptoms on a Friday or Saturday, and, God forbid it's someone like a Mahomes or a Kelsey or whatever, that changes everything.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just throwing that out there. It's not going to affect my score right now, but I'm telling you that whether it's the Chiefs or another team, we're going to deal with that, I think, all season long. Let's go Chiefs 31 and Ravens 20.
All right. Lucas, what about you?
We'll go Chiefs 34, Ravens 27.
I think it might be a little bit lower scoring than people realize. I'm going to go 27-24. I mean, I think it's going to be a close game still.
Bet the under.
Yeah, but
I
think for some reason, those games that you think are going to be shootout with the Chiefs, I don't think they ever really plan out that way. But we'll see next week. Well, that does it for week 1 of Talkin Chop. Joel, again, thanks so much for being with us.
Appreciate it.
Whether you're listening on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, whatever, or wherever you get your podcast, make sure to tune in to us all year long as we're back for an entire season with some of Kansas City's top executives and personalities. Joel, again, thanks for your time. We'll catch you all next week. And as always, go Chiefs.